Hello again. Yeah, we're starting with part two of Clock Tower here. So yeah, coming from where we left off, I'd just like to talk really quick about the continue button. This is the type of content you get where I talk about every menial thing. So the continue button is really nifty because you can go back to where you were right before you died and right before you got an ending. If you remember from last episode, I got the ending H. I think I called it ending G in that video, but it was ending H. Either way, that being one of the worst endings and the easiest to get, I decided to get that. And what's funny is that you could just go back as if you never did it. So here we are. Um, it's pretty convenient, and for the amount of times you die in this game, um, it can be pretty helpful. It is kind of unfortunate because it places you right before the event when you died, so there's no real like punishment or um, consequence of dying, since you just get the chance to redo it instantly. But yeah, I figure we can go over here and I can show off another part of this game that I like. So here we have these stairs again. There was actually a cut feature to make it so you could run up these stairs, but they didn't add it for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't imagine like the playtesters thoroughly enjoyed this part, so I don't know why they didn't patch that in or anything. The deluxe edition ROM hack patches that in, I believe. Um, so I don't imagine it's the hardest thing. I don't know. I'm not a programmer at all whatsoever. I just play video games instead. So we'll go in here. And if you remember, we went to this room earlier and no one was there. Now we're back here and Miss Mary is here. Remember Miss Mary? She was the person who brought us to the clock tower. And we were tasked to look for her by the other girls. One of which is dead, but, you know. So here we're given a glass of something. Don't drink alcohol. It's not good for you. So here we kind of learn that Miss Mary isn't as much of a saint as we might have thought. Granted, I don't think it's that hard to figure out, but I'm sure Jennifer probably, especially considering she's probably terrified right now, is willing to trust anyone who she doesn't know for sure is evil. And now we're trapped with our homie. His name is Food. We're gonna give him ham. If you don't feed him in time, he jumps on you and kills you. And his name is actually Simon Barrows. So this is Mr. Barrows, who Miss Mary said she was going to look for. And it looks like we found him. He is in a cage. Talking to him, he gives a little bit more exposition here. So the cradle under the star is a pretty prevalent thing throughout this game. While it's not immediately clear to the player necessarily, it's clear enough for Jennifer to understand what it is. She cannot progress the game without um, learning this information about the cradle under the star. We'll get into that later. Here's a lot. This is one of the few interactions that the other girls have with Jennifer, besides you seeing them dead. Which is, I don't know if that's much of an interaction, to be perfectly honest, but here we are. I really like this scene because it's really displaying a lot of Lot's character in the sense that she's like actively like doing some investigation herself. That's unfortunate. Just yeah. So Lot's dead now. I'm given the choice to either hide in this box. Such a choice will instantly kill me, and then I'll have to replay the cutscene with Simon over there again, which will take a long time. So I'll not do that for now. Instead, we will use a wooden stick and bash her over the head and get out of here. So it just awkwardly fades to black as she's just like clocked out. So here we're in a garden area inside the courtyard of the castle. Or not outside of the, or not castle, excuse me, the mansion. So we're not really outside and free from this place, despite what the trees might try and tell you. There's a little hole here. You can actually come to this room earlier and get another cutscene rather than going straight to the bathroom. I might show that off later. Yeah, now we just move this box aside, and then we're in the West Wing. You could also use the key to get here, but whatever. It sure is. So now we are all alone. Or at least all of our friends are dead. But, um, yeah, so with this, you can actually get another ending, which I won't show here necessarily because it's not too interesting, where you can actually leave using the car again. And when all three of the other girls are dead, you can actually go and see a secret cutscene. Kind of. It's not really a scene as much as just text on a wall that displays like Jennifer like leaves and actually does not get killed by Scissorman in the car, but leaves, returns to the Granite Orphanage, and is found dead later. The implications of this is rather dark. It's not clear how she dies. Either way. I haven't got the heart to clean that up. These sound effects are really creepy in this room. So yeah. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but there might be a rare chance to have another cutscene happen here. I'll try it one more time. Nope. It might happen later. It might not. There is another version of this game on the PlayStation that, again, only released in Japan. And also the Wonder Swan. Does anyone know what a Wonder Swan is? I do. It's basically another version of a Game Boy, kind of like, not made by Nintendo, of course. Actually made by the same people that did make the Game Boy, but not like the actual people themselves, like Gunpei Yokoi. But regardless, with that, there's a little cutscene in both those versions, and also Rewind if you have that, where a taxidermified person would appear in that little closet there and start chasing you, kind of like Scissorman, but is only like limited to that room, and you'd have to use like a dagger to defeat defeat her in order to continue on. There's another fun room. I feel like in the down the west wing, there's a lot more creepier rooms. The facade of the Barrows being a really delightful family begins to fade more and more really quickly. It's very clear that they did not want the average person to have a key to this place. So we're kind of trapped here. I'm gonna have to use the panic button here. And just barely we're able to run past him. If we don't trip on him. When my portrait is red, it makes it so that I have a chance to trip and slip and fall and stuff like that while I'm trying to run away, which is not good when I'm being chased. He isn't really that fast though, so he's not like catching up to me, I don't think. There's a little hole in the floor, as you have. Ooh. Tough. I'm also kind of stranded out here. But it's a good thing I have this rope. Whee! Suppose I can go put that plank of wood over it. But yeah. Again, this puzzle is a little dumb because you kind of have to click on the ground here first and then click on the plank of wood. Otherwise, it's just like, oh yeah, there's wood. Again, I think most people can naturally intuit, like, yes, I'm supposed to use this plank of wood over here. But I guess Jennifer can't. Oh. Oh, it is just a really fat cat. Oh my gosh, I never realized how chunky that thing is. Delightful. There is a chance Scissor Man can pop out of here. How would you look at that? How much that's going to do us. With a good friend magic stick, we can break down this wall. I love how it like completely shatters like as she's walking away, like she doesn't even look at it. Like with that arm strength, you gotta admit, like I don't know how Scissor Man's still alive after getting like shoved to the ground. Anyway, I'm on a red profile over here, so I'm going to sit down and relax next to this delightful cat. Again, cute sprite work. I just kind of like to show off this room that's up ahead. I know this is kind of like a, ooh, what's next as I'm sitting on the ground, but yeah. I believe there is a way you can actually soft lock yourself. I'm not 100% sure. I could be totally wrong, and I might have just like been awful at the game before. But if you don't put down that plank of wood that's in the hallway behind us, um, and Scissor Man pops out of this box instead of this cat, you can actually like you can't get back down because the game won't let you throw down the rope because it's in the middle of a chase scene. There's several objects you can and can't interact with depending on if you're in a chase scene or not. That, for example, you could use some things as weapons, some things to hide under, whereas you wouldn't normally hide under something if nothing is directly chasing you. Unless you're me, then I would be hiding the whole time. But yeah, I suppose this is enough. We can go check out this room. It is empty. There's nothing here. Nothing I've noticed these little tally marks. This room has a lot of significance depending on how you play the game. I will show that off in a later playthrough. But for now, you just get to hear me talk about everything else. And there's nothing over here. I'm going to run over here. I wish I could just take the rope to go down a little quicker rather than having to slowly walk down these stairs. But here we are. Nothing much we can do about that. Oh. So we could just check out what's over here. Aha. So we have a little staff. If you remember the image from before, in the study, or I guess like library or ritual study, I don't know what it's called. Religious study, that's what it's called. Um, there's a thing that depicts a vase with a rod inside of it. Hello. Anyway, I suppose we could just interact with everything else here. I don't see why not. Okay. Might as well play a tune for our audience here. I love this scene. Anyway, I'm being chased again. I'm out of here. Okay, so I think he's going to be wiser to know not to try and jump off the down this off the ceiling again. I'm gonna try going back here actually. Oh no, he's after us. Oh. Okay. Yeah, you can repeat that over and over again. I won't do that for the sake of showing off other ways you can beat him. But it is funny to see him fall down the exact same way twice. I'll head on over here. I guess I already checked out everything there. No use in playing the piano twice. I've already mastered it. All right. Let's turn on the lights so we can see a little better. Oh. So here we have a lot of crows. Those are supposed to be crows. And they're all in pretty bad condition, all things considered. Okay, we got the rats out. That's all that counts. There's another thing we can do here. So unlike the last bird, crows are actually super nice. It's kind of sweet, I think. There's nothing else really in here besides just dead crows. That's all we can really do is save that one crow. Actually, I'm gonna go upstairs really quickly. Yeah. Here we are again. Mm. Nice. You notice there's blood on this, well, these curtains here. Well, I guess it also explains that pretty bluntly that's where Anne fell through the window, if you remember from earlier this episode. Head on out. We could also check out that door, but it kind of just, they're connected here, so it doesn't necessarily matter too much. We have a nursery. So this is happening. There you go. I cannot leave the room otherwise without that happening. There's also this big clown doll, which also has a chance of attacking you in the other versions of this game that I previously mentioned. Otherwise, it's just the floating doll. They react very similarly, and there's not much of a change outside of just who's after you. Yes, the restroom. I'm gonna wash my hands after everything I witnessed. That's a little bit better, at least. I love how they're. Oh, it's the fat cat again. I love how there isn't a toilet in this bathroom. Because we get a fat cat. But yeah, heading down now. So we now have the ceremony key, which is a very helpful item. Check my inventory. We have black robe, perfume, staff, cage key, and a lantern. The lantern is what is used to find the copper key. I believe I talked about that a little bit earlier. I might have not actually. I don't know. And the cage key, of course, is used to save those crows. And everything else is to be used later. Or yes, I can get the copper key. It won't really help us at this point if I'm remember correctly, since it's used to help open the cage that Lot otherwise opens, and then you can technically save Lot through that. But in order to see this, you'd have to see and die. So now we have the copper key, which doesn't really help us right now. It's got a bunch of books. Again, there's very environmental storytelling throughout a lot of this. It's not necessarily the deepest story to tell, but it is a very interesting story nonetheless. I suppose I should sit down in the next room I get to, because I have a red portrait, and that is not good if I start getting chased. Here's the ceremony room. I suppose I'll rest here. Again, this is one of the other few rooms that has a soundtrack really to it. You can see a skeleton, a dead crow, in that vase that I was talking about earlier. And a giant star, if you remember the saying that Simon Barrows told us, it's to look for the cradle under the star. So if you put two and two together, or either something is watching us from the cradle under the star, put two and two together, you'd put this staff here to trigger that, since there's the little mural that we saw earlier to signify that we need to interact with this vase. I'll do that once we're fully prepared. But again, I can't imagine a lot of people are super thrilled with the Barrows' misdemeanors they're doing. I don't know how a giant like mansion known as the Clock Tower around like by like other citizens is like, hey, like let's just ignore whatever they're doing in there, and then they find out, oh, there's some cult stuff, because like there's no way you can keep this stuff hidden, and then like they're just all chill with that. Regardless, here we are. And now we have opening that just has appeared. So now we're in the Barrows' giant underground cellar here. They don't really store any wines or anything, as far as I'm aware. Totally would be a good idea. Like, you got a giant cave here, like, you might as well do that. Now you want to go this way. That's mysterious. Let's talk to this Doberman. What's up, dog? Oh, hello. So now what we do is we put on this little stuff here, and then perfume so we smell like Miss Mary. And then we walk across. Otherwise, that dog will jump us, which isn't good. Not really preferable, if you ask me, but here we are. There's a little something over here, too. Instead of empty candles. Nothing I can do with it, but there it is nonetheless. I'm going to go over here. No idea what this is doing here. And this is kerosene. I didn't get the chance to click on it. Interesting. So this is Dan Barrows. It's a giant, evil, giant purple, I think, demon baby. Not fun. So here we kind of have to panic across here. I'm mashing the B button as much as I can. This music is amazing. Really displays the just terror that's going on right now. There we are. This has to smell so awful. Like, there's no way in heck that's gonna smell decent at all. Let's get that all out of here. And here we have a nice elevator. Okay. This can determine several endings depending on which floor we go to. Floor 1 doesn't work. We have 2 and 3 here that we could choose from. I'm going to choose 2. So we're back in the mansion. Well, not that we ever left necessarily, but I don't think you can really say we stayed there the whole time, considering the giant evil underground lair. So the chase begins here. The grand finale. So here we learn the name of Scissorman being Bobby Barrows, and that's where we learn that Dan is called Dan. There's it. It's a little tricky finding all the hitboxes for each thing here. Miss Mary's just taking a gander over here at the wonderful rain here. And there's that clock tower. So here we see that turning on this clock causes Bobby, I'm sorry, to fall down. So when it says earlier, time will cause adherence, this means that essentially Bobby and Dan were rapidly decaying. And this clock tower caused them to stop decaying, exactly? It's not very clear. It prevented them from dying. Once the clock tower was started again, that caused Bobby to rapidly die. But there we are. This is the C ending for Clock Tower. This isn't necessarily the very best, but a good ending nonetheless, at least compared to all the other ones where you just end up dead. This is a wonderful song, too. So yeah, that was Clock Tower. I want to make one last video on this. This one is pretty long as is, so hopefully this next one will... I don't know if it'll be short necessarily. I won't be showing off as much, but I will be trying to get the secret ending, or S ending, if you will. But yeah. Overall, this game is very quick. It's very short, and if you know what you're doing, you can beat it really quickly. I did take some detours to try and show some more stuff off. But yeah. It's a very beautiful game. There's lots of hidden nooks and crannies. I did not show off everything. There's lots of other endings. There's lots of other things and other routes you can take. Lots of just special interactions depending on like how you decide to kind of go about your path. For example, there's like a whole ending where if you just never see Lot, for example, I won't necessarily go for it. But like if you never see Lot, there's a specific ending where like you just will die in the elevator. Or if you take too long to get to the elevator by not seeing, or by seeing too many events or something like that, or not seeing specific events, it causes Scissorman to just jump in the elevator and kill you. But yeah. So Jennifer here is the sole survivor of the clock tower cases, I guess, here. Or clock tower murders, they're called. And yeah, that is Clock Tower. If this is where you stop watching, I hope you enjoyed this little intro to it. If you want to continue watching, I will post the Clock Tower S ending very soon. I hope this was a good taste of what Clock Tower is, the first sphere specifically. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Take care wherever you are, and God bless.